big tech deception, fake innovation, data parasites, and the march to XaaS. The modern internet and web apps are now no longer for your benefit. Big tech has conditioned people to accept privacy invasion and data extraction out of the free and convenient apps they use. You must know that every time you use that free app, you are paying with your data, your privacy, and most importantly, your dignity. Allow me to make some analogies for you. I want you to imagine you and a friend having a nice private conversation at a restaurant or at the beach. You're chatting back and forth, and then some creepy person sits down right at your table or right next to you.
Hey, baby.
And starts listening in and watching your face. How would you feel? What would you do in real life if this creep just got in the middle of your business? At the very least, you'd ask, "Can I help you?" But I think a lot of you would be revolted and probably get pretty angry. Yell at them, push them away, call the cops, get up and leave, or even punch their lights out. You must know that with most big web apps out there, every time you send a text or an email,
You've got mail.
that web app or big tech company is doing the exact same thing that creep is in real life, except digitally. Web apps and big tech keylog your keyboard presses, scan your messages, scan all the photos you upload and share, listen to your conversations, listen to your streaming meetings and feeds, and looks at all sorts of metrics about you, your device, your mannerisms, and your search history, and puts them into a black box that you do not have any privilege or access to. They take your data and feed it into proprietary algorithms. They take your data and sell it. So once again, imagine that creep coming up to you in real life in the middle of your personal conversations. They listen in to what you're saying and what you're doing. They jot it down and they take those notes and they run off. And now the next thing you know, you have some clown with a bullhorn yelling at you in the middle of the street saying, hot dogs here, hot dogs here. Because your phone heard you say barbecue and charcoal. If your digital life were to be analogous to real life, this is what big tech and most web apps do. And tell me, why do you accept this? Why do you allow web apps and big tech to siphon off your data and make money off it? And then be shady and creepy about it? And then when big tech or a web app has a data breach, it's, oh well, sorry about that, oops. And then you are left to deal with any potential fallout that might come your way. You see, you are nothing but monetized data points to big tech. You know, they push all this computer and AI crap on people, not because we really need it or that it's innovative. Of course not. They sell us all this crap because big tech needs to keep engineers employed, developers developing, stock prices up, growth consistent, and shareholders happy. And as I mentioned before, all those big multi-billion-dollar wafer fabs out there run by TSMC and Intel, who work with AMD and NVIDIA and Apple. If those fabs are not churning out wafers and chips, they are losing big money, billions. Popular web apps and big tech are so dominant on the marketplace because you are not an informed consumer. They are not truly transparent with their practices, telling you their true intent and keeping you naive and addicted to their platforms. It feels like we are all stuck with these platforms and we just have to deal with the loss of privacy and monetization of our data, so we just stick with the devil we know. Tech today is not about elevating humanity or true innovation. It's about consumerism and profits. So much that big tech is thrusting a digital dystopia upon humanity in the name of said profits. Big tech is conditioning billions of people to be subjected to tech and having this mother may I mentality because of smartphones, apps, and the Internet of Things. And this is leading humanity down the road into this dastardly digital dystopia known as XaaS.
Uh-oh.
The march to XaaS. If you remember back in the day, you could actually buy the CD or DVD of things like Adobe Photoshop, Windows XP, and Windows 7 and 10. You could actually hold the disc physically in your hand. But nowadays, that option is no longer available to you, and there's a reason for it. Software in big tech created the SaaS business model, which means software as a service. No longer do you own the software outright, and technically you never really did if you read the EULA, the End User Licensing Agreement. So now you must subscribe to X company's service. And this business model was made capable by the internet. Granted, there are some benefits to SaaS, but they come with some major side effects. Expensive monthly fees, data privacy intrusion and collection, the uneasy feeling of what are they doing with my data, and being utterly dependent on their services and ecosystem which puts you at their whims. If you are old enough to remember, Microsoft gave you updates for XP 7 and 10 even if you owned the disk and had a valid key. So it's not like big tech must use SaaS to make things run and stay up to date. Nope, SaaS was developed to make people lifelong subscribers and extract as much money and data out of people as they could, with the added benefit of centralized control. And in the past decade or so, we have seen big business take the SaaS model and mutate it for the real analog world. Big business wants to apply the SaaS model to control the supposed things that you buy and own. Many of you have heard about automakers doing a subscription model for amenities in their vehicles that come with the car. Yet another example of the SaaS model being applied to real life. You might have heard about this movement called right to repair. Do you know why a lot of people are pushing back against big business for the right to repair? It first gained notoriety about a decade ago when farmers had to fight against John Deere to repair their own tractors because of this SaaS mentality. And now, big tech and big business are trying to prevent people and third parties from repairing the items that they supposedly bought and own. Big tech and big business are force conditioning humanity down a road called everything as a service. Abbreviated XaaS. You must have this app to unlock your car, or access your air conditioning, or to sign into your gym, or to sign in at the doctor's office. Big tech and big business are now turning everyone into a gig worker using the everything as a service model. If your John Deere tractor, Tesla, or iPhone 56X breaks, you have to go to an authorized dealer and get authorized parts. You play your favorite online game, and then one day, that game company takes away all your cars or items and puts them behind a paywall. Quote-unquote, innovative startups want to sign you up for their boxed meal service so you don't have to think about your health or dinner. These things seem like conveniences to you, but big tech and big business will slowly try to find a way into anything and everything it can to make it into an everything as a service business model. even to the point where you have to biometrically scan yourself to get the basic essentials when shopping. Do you seriously want to live in this sort of big tech, big business, digital dystopia, everything as a service life, where AI and algorithms determine your everything, and you have become nothing more than a digital puppet for your digital demigods and their freakish vision of humanity? Big tech and big business call it everything as a service. I call it existence as a slave model, EaaS.
You are a slave, Neo.
In marketing, it was once said, informed consumers make rational choices. However, in today's reality, big tech and big business purposely misinform consumers so they have no other rational choices. And it is time that we change this. Am I recommending that we should all go back and start living like we did pre-1990s and before the internet? Or that we should go back to using CDs and DVDs? Or going back to the horse and buggy and living in mud huts? Of course not. That would be inefficient and silly. And I'm certainly not saying that true innovation is not happening today. But what I am recommending is that we start to realize and acknowledge how much power big tech has over us and how they are using fake innovation to mask planned obsolescence and cyclical consumerism, all at great expense to the environment, I may add. Thankfully, it's not too late to stop us from having to live in an everything as a service, existence as a slave world model. The first thing you have to do is realize that big tech is not your friend. They are deceiving people in what true innovation is and turning you into nothing but a cyclical consumer, taking advantage of you and your goodwill. The second thing you must realize is that there are alternatives out there to this entrapping tech snare they are coaxing humanity into. There are these things called open source technology and decentralization that offer alternative solutions to these costly and centralized software as a service model and this enslaving everything as a service paradigm they are pushing humanity into. You are highly encouraged to research the terms open source technology, decentralization, decentralized cybernetics. If you want to stop humanity from marching silently and willingly into this everything as a service digital dystopia, first of all, start learning about decentralization and open source technologies. You can also help by helping this channel and helping your fellow open source supporters, programmers, hackers, designers, makers, DIYers, and solarpunks, so we can decentrify tech.